Hi everybody, welcome to the A360 Collaboration for Revit webinar. My name is Mark Kelly, I'm in the Brisbane office.
I am Justin Xu and I am based in Melbourne.
Excellent. Now the reason that we're doing it as a joint webinar and the reason we're doing it across different states is because the whole point in this exercise is to demonstrate to you this technology of collaboration for Revit, which as we'll see is a way of people working on the same project who are geographically isolated. So what we're going to do is we'll just do a bit of a PowerPoint and I'll get Justin to run through some of the slides at the start which talk about the actual technology and I guess how it all comes about and where it fits into the scheme of things. And then I'll talk a little bit about the actual administrative side of it and then we'll actually do a live demo. So over to you, Justin.
Hi. So, and for this webinar, first thing we're gonna go over some of the technical backgrounds of C4R. Then we will touch on some commonly asked questions in regards to procurement. Then me and Mark gonna do a live demo of how to and set up the C4R projects for the same first time, and then we're gonna navigate everyone through the A360 web interface. And some key terminologies here. So A360 Drive, and that technology has been around for quite a while, and it pretty much comes as free with most of the Autodesk purchases. And A360 Team Hub, it's actually the cloud platform that understands, as architects and engineers, we collaborate as within project teams. And also A360 Team Hub can understand lots of file formats such as PDF, DWG, and Excel. A360 Collaboration for Revit, and the short term for that is C4R. And that is the technology that using the vector technology and taking the central model to the cloud, which allows people from remote distance to collaborate using the same Revit central cloud. So this is the Revit work sharing model we are familiar with, and a local area network sharing, which is having a server sitting inside your office, and everyone's local model sits on every user's C drive, and the central model in the server is gonna coordinate everyone's work changes. Revit server was developed based on if someone has to take the model to a different site, and then we cannot no longer use the local area network to collaborate anymore, and that is why we introduced a Revit server. So for different sites, it will be a different server. Then everyone is still synchronizing to their own local area network server, but there's going to be a Revit server which is used to coordinate different versions of central models sits on different local servers. So the problem with this technology is it still relies on, it's still using the wide area network to transmit the model data, and it is potentially having clashes with firewalls, and it requires an extra server and IT setup. So the question is asked saying, can we take the BIM model into the cloud? And the slide we are looking at now, it's how the C4R uses the technology. So basically, it maintained the lower half of the Revit server structure. It's still using the local cache, and which is the local model in the LAN area, a LAN setup. And it will also create a data cache on the user's C drive, and it's gonna the C4R accelerator, which is the vectoring technology, that is going to compare different versions of the cache with the cloud model. So this will ensure this low volume but constant data transfer between the user's computer with the cloud. So the C4R and also brought in the Communicator software. So basically, this is a chat tool but project-based. So it's only going to display chats that is from your team member, and it depends on which model you are currently working on. It's going to display people inside of the same model. And also the good thing is it also shows who is doing what in the model. And before that, we had this thing called a Revit work sharing monitor. Basically, it's showing everyone's activity inside of the model, and that has been integrated with this Communicator tool. So A360 team and the C4R, they are together. It's the solution for information sharing, Revit wide area network work sharing, and the real-time communication in Revit. So to address first issue, we are using the A360 team. So you can share all sorts of different files. That's all understood by the web interface. And the second one is C4R. So that is resolving the issue of taking the model outside of the office. The third one is the Communicator. So that it's allowing problems, real project problem to be communicated in real time. All right, so the slide here, and we're just going to go through what is unique with the collaboration for Revit. So the first blue box here, Communicator and collaboration with Revit models. So we have just been through that. And moving down, use outside a shared network. So this means, unlike the Revit server, which has to use the VPN technology or even go through firewalls, and with the C4R technology, as long as you have a computer with Revit on and you have an internet connection, you can use this service. And the bottom here, and it highlighted it's suitable for small and a very small business. So basically, that enabled two small offices doing joint venture using this technology. And for bigger offices, and I think the scenario will be studios in different sites collaborating on a big scale project. And a couple of big offices are trialing this at the moment, and the feedback has been quite positive. So I am gonna give the screen to Mark now.
Excellent. So we'll just change over, and now I'm going to talk about the boring part, which is the procurement part, getting the software, setting it up, and so forth. So just to explain now, you've already got a contract manager, an Autodesk contract manager who purchases the software in your company. So that would normally be the same person who's obviously going to purchase the C4R subscriptions. That person would then nominate the person as an administrator, who would basically normally be, say, a BIM manager or a model manager. And those people will be responsible for setting up new projects and so forth, and inviting people into what's called the team hub. So just to explain in terms of purchasing, there are two levels in terms of what Autodesk regards people as in the project. So in a C4R project, a person's either an editor or a viewer. Now, a viewer is someone, for example, a client or maybe a contractor who wants to have a look at the model and wants perhaps to be able to provide input into meetings and markups and so forth to contribute to those sort of meetings, but they're not someone who needs to actually open up the Revit model and make any changes. So those people are able to log in and look at the model if they're invited, obviously, without any cost at all. So that's free. And on the other hand, you've then got editors, and those are people who need to actively go into the Revit model, edit it, and collaborate on it, which is, I guess, what we're looking at here in terms of the demonstration. So those people each person who's an editor does need to have their own subscription, their own C4R subscription. So at the very start of the process, the administrator will a second. Okay, good. So the administrator will choose a name for the actual team hub, and that will create a unique URL address. And so obviously that team hub would be something that's common to all your projects. That won't be named after the individual project as such. It would normally be named after just the company that you're that it's being set up for. So what actually happens then is that it's all metered out, all given out by Autodesk username, in the same way that the desktop subscriptions are given out. The actual C4R is given out by username. So the very first thing you're going to have to do is make sure that everybody in the team has an Autodesk account. And if they don't, then that's a very straightforward process. There's a hyperlink that I've put there. That's something you can just look up by doing Google search. So once that person's got an account, then you basically would purchase a subscription. You would go into the account center and say, right, user X has access to C4R. Then that person, you would have to send out an invite to that person inside the C4R team hub. And then once that person has accepted, they're now a member of the team. So as I said, you go into the team hub. The administrator would usually do this task of inviting people into the actual folder, which is the folder is actually where the project resides. From a security point of view, it's very, very similar to something like Dropbox or any of those other cloud-based sort of storage services where you invite a person into a specific folder, and then that person has access to whatever's in the folder. And again, at that point, when you actually send the invitation, you have a choice of whether that person's an editor or just a viewer. That can be changed afterwards, so it's not set in stone once you've made that decision. So in terms of, I guess, what people can and can't do, somebody who's a viewer, and in fact anybody who's in the team can do this, but the viewer can only do certain things, and that is they can only open up what I would call a virtual version of the model, which sits in the team hub, and so that'll get issued at regular intervals by the BIM/model manager, the administrator. They can open up that model and they can make comments if they desire, and they can contribute in that way. Now, inside the team hub, as I'll show you briefly in the demo, there's also a calendar which can be used to send out emails to people to say there's a sort of a get-together meeting where people can comment on the model, and so they've got access to that calendar. But they can't open up the Revit model. So then we've got the editors who can do that, and additionally they can open up the model. They can also do editing functions such as moving, copying, renaming, and so forth of folders and files in the team hub. Then on top of that, the project administrator is the one who actually sets up all the different folders and projects and so forth. So I think without any further ado, we will now go to the actual demonstration. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up Revit just with it slightly off to the side. I'm going to start up the Communicator here. So the Communicator is something that gets installed with 2017, and it also gets installed in all the versions of Revit when you install the C4R add-on. So I'm going to open up a plain vanilla version of the project here. It's just a standalone project. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Collaborate and activate the collaboration. You'll see though that what you actually get is an option of using traditional workspace, which is just a local area network, or collaborating in the cloud. Then what you get is a list of all the different folders that are in the team hub, and I'm going to pick that one there. I'm going to initiate, and depending on your internet speed, this will take varying lengths of time. I'm on a 1010 connection, so this will probably take a bit longer, perhaps, to do than what the same thing might do, say, from Justin's computer, which is operating on a much wider bandwidth.
ambient, so that's 100 up, and I think no, it's a 100 down and a 20 up.
Okay. So this will just keep grinding away here, and because it's a web-based interface, you just have to make sure that you keep refreshing.
Yeah.
So when this is public, it will actually upload the virtual model that's sitting on the cloud. So this becomes the central file, and this is your central point of reference. And it also will create, at this first save, it will also create a virtual model, or version 1 of the virtual model of the actual project. Sorry, Justin, you're going to say something?
And do you want to invite me to your project?
I certainly do. I'm glad you reminded me. Okay, Justin Shu, I'm going to make sure he's an editor, and he'll get an email popping up at his end, which he can then respond to. So that's finished uploading. So there'll probably be a little bit of a lag.
Yeah, I just got an email.
Okay. So this initial process it's going to take the longest out of all the other processes because it's just an initial uploading of the entire project. When you go to start synchronizing to this central model on the cloud, the saving time is going to be dramatically reduced simply because it's not going to be uploading the whole file. Obviously, it's just going to be using that vectoring technology to only upload the bits that it needs to. And there's Justin's response, and here's the model, and here's this V1 that tells me that there's a virtual model there. So let's go back into AutoCAD, try again, Revit, and let's, AutoCAD on the brain, let's go in here, and I'm just going to make 2 work sets. It could be very, very simple model, and make interiors active. Yes, of course, I'll make that active. Why wouldn't I? So I'm going to put those into interior work set, and I'm going to place all of these in the architectural work set. Now remember, of course, the central model is now up on the cloud, so as soon as I hit synchronize, that's going to refresh the virtual model. And you can see now that the upload speed there is dramatically increased because it's only saving a small portion of data. It's not going to save the entire database in a big chunk like it would have to do with traditional work sets. So that's a big advantage. So I'll just get out of that when it's finished. And what I'll now do is, which I probably should have done anyway, is I'll make sure that architecture is not my work set. So I might just do a quick synchronize. And what will happen now is it switch over back to Justin. And we'll see what's going to happen at his end because he will want to go into the model and start working on it, but perhaps make a change to something in the interior work set.
Yeah. So can everyone see my screen now?
There it is now. Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So basically, what Mark was doing is that he was like the BIM manager setting up project for the first time. So here I am. So will be like a Revit operator. So the project has already been created. So my job is to keep on working on it. So this button here, the B button. So after you install the C4R, Revit sees the cloud just as another physical path. So just like reading any central file from any path we've been previously doing, it did not change the workflow there. Another thing worth mentioning here, this thing, it's year specific. If a project was created using Revit 2017, it is only visible in Revit 2017. So if you try to access this using Revit 2016, you are not going to see the project, which is good. And let's open this model. And another touch is any project that is shared through the cloud will have this cute little icon at the bottom. And another thing that's worth mentioning is after we're using the C4R technology, we need to always log in before we open up Revit, because that is how the cloud model knows who is operating on what, and also the C4R software privilege will be assigned based on the Autodesk ID by the contract manager in your office. So yeah, so this is the lovely model that Mark has just uploaded. So what I'm going to do is I will just create some extra doors, you see here, because the wall is owned by Mark. So by putting doors, I am editing this wall. So I would need Mark's permission to do that. So I will place a request. So this is nothing different from the old way of using Revit. And hopefully Mark will get a pop-up on his side.
Yeah, so I'll just grant permission right now. And
yeah.
See in a second that
yeah.
The other end. That,
so this is just showing there's not much, and C4R does not disrupt the old Revit LAN area network, local area network way of sharing, and the permission, it's exactly the same workflow and it's instant. So after I made modification to this wall, I will synchronize it and give the screen back to Mark.
Excellent.
So, and another thing is, because I'm on Ambient, so you will see the uploading speed, it's a little bit faster than what Mark was previously showing. Yep.
Okay, great. So we'll just switch back to my screen, and I'm going to just go to the Team Hub here. So you can see it's on version 1 at this point in time. So what we're actually going to do, though, is for the purposes of any discussions that we're going to have about this project, we'll actually establish some views, like a view set, that are going to then be used to upload to C4R. So this will be one of the sheets that might be used for that discussion. So you can still do a save to local, by the way, in Revit. So I'll just go synchronize that now. Again, that's refreshed the cloud-based version of the central file. I need to do that to affect any of these changes. It won't record any of that unless I do something else. I'll just wait till it's had a bit of a think. Okay. All right. So it's done its thing. So if I now go here to manage, and then pick that project, the one we're working on, what I'm going to do now is, let's just say, for example, that we've got a meeting between ourselves and some of the other consultants and the client. That's scheduled for 5 minutes from now. So, in typical fashion, I'm going to publish the model 5 minutes before it's due. So that's just sending that up to the cloud, the latest version. If we go back in here, of course, being on a slower internet speed, this could take a little bit of time. So it's the same length of time that it would have taken to upload the similar length of time it would take to upload it initially, I'm guessing. So I'll just keep refreshing that. So one of the things that I think is worth mentioning that we find that a few people have sort of gone into is that inside the web interface here, there's an ability to delete a project. And what you really need to remember is that everything has to be managed through Revit. So if you're going to delete a project, you need to do it here by going to Manage, and then clicking on the project, clicking here and saying Delete. If you don't do it that way, then what happens is it sort of ends up like a ghost sitting on Team Hub. Even though you've deleted it here and you can't see it and use it, when you go into Revit and you go to open it, you'll actually still see it. So it can be very confusing. Don't use the Team Hub to manage. So you see, we've got V2. That's excellent. So I'll click on this, and now this is actually going to open up version 2 of the virtual model. Might take a little while just to refresh itself because there's a bit more information here. So it's got this sheet. Okay. So those are the two views that we've currently got in version 2. So I'll just go back to the 3D view. Okay, so if you've used, a design review, this will all be very, very familiar. If I've got all the commands, panning, zooming, and so forth, and rotating. But if I click on an element, again, I get this BIM data showing up. So it's not just dumb information; it's actually giving me pertinent information about the actual object. I have the ability to I can go in here and have a look at all the comments. We'll actually start creating some comments in a sec, and you can download the model from here as well. I guess that's another thing you might want to do. Just very quickly before we start looking at comments, you can explode the model, which is a very exciting, dramatic way to illustrate things. And we've got, that was not intended to be serious. And then we've got the section tools, which again, a bit like design review, the DWF files. So what we'll do is we'll go into this sheet here, and if we schedule a meeting in the calendar and it's started, I'm going to just create a markup comment like so, and then just a bit of text. Something like that. So then when I hit save, that gets recorded now. And you can see in the right here, I've got comments. I've also got Justin here now, who's added a comment. I'll click on that and see what he's got. More doors, please. No, that is enough doors. Okay, so. But this essentially allows us to track all of those comments. You can see, as an administrator, I've got the ability to delete them as well. So that's a useful little tool. You've got some other tools like the camera tool, which allows you to go through and do first-person sort of walkthroughs and so forth, which is a bit of a gizmo. But there is this newish feature, which I think is actually quite interesting, is this compare versions thing. So if I go into compare versions, it actually opens up a new tab. Asks me which versions I want to compare. Well, we've only got 2 and 1, so we don't really have much choice there. And then we get into this mode here where it looks at the 2 different models and it interrogates them and decides what's been added, what's been removed, or what's been modified. So if I just filter this out to say what's been added, you can see here that I can go through by clicking on the element or clicking on the ID number there. If I look at removed, well, there's nothing that's been removed, so that's 0. And then we've got modified, so we've got all of these elements here. So you can see here it actually says that the area and the volume has very slightly been decreased. That's the function of the fact that Justin put more door openings into it. So that is an overview of the way that that C4R worked in practical terms. I think we've managed to demonstrate here in, I think, 15 minutes, the whole sort of process of uploading a file and collaborating and doing markups. So that's a reasonably compressed time frame to do something like that, which I think is quite good. So some of the questions that we've had about this, one of the questions is, do you need an internet connection at all times, and can you work remotely? Well, you're going to need an internet connection to work really in collaboration for Revit. But if you think about it these days, if you were absolutely desperate for an internet connection, these days you can use your phone as a Wi-Fi hotpoint, or whatever they call it. So if all else fails and you don't have connection through Wi-Fi or through an Ethernet cable, you could even use your phone if you totally needed to get internet connection. So it is doable in a remote sense. You could actually be sitting in an airport somewhere working on the model if you really wanted to. But I think for a more satisfying experience, obviously, being somewhere where there's a good connection is obviously going to be beneficial to everybody. There was a question too about the compare model. At this point, this is a fairly new feature. The great thing about all of the stuff that's sort of web-based or cloud-based is that the technology can rapidly develop, especially with feedback from people. So at the moment, this really only gives me the option of looking at cloud-based things. It doesn't sort of give me any way here to track any comments, I guess. It does, though, allow me to, if I'd elected to store 2D views, it does actually give me the ability to do a model compare based on the two sheets. Now, when we've tried to use this before, it has actually failed. So let's just check to see. Yeah, okay, so difference failed. So I'm not too sure exactly what's going on there. That might be just perhaps a temporary software glitch, or it might just be maybe the tool doesn't work on these sort of sheet views, for example, and it just doesn't stop me from being able to produce a sheet. So because of such a rapid development in this cloud-based technology, these sort of bugs get identified really quickly and they get addressed really quickly. New features can get added on a weekly basis. So what we see here, there may be new tools available in another fortnight's time that just suddenly appear. So I think that's probably, I hope, looked at the C4R technology from all the different angles and demonstrated it practically in use. So I'd like to thank you all for attending, and so I'd like to say goodbye from me, Mark, and
goodbye.
Goodbye from Justin. All right, thank you very much.